The channel spoke the last 3 words of my sentence before I did. I was mid-report. Telemetry is holding at, and the speaker said, holding at nominal, in my own voice, a half-second early. I stopped breathing. The number on the gauge hadn't even settled yet. My name is Ren Osi, comms officer aboard the survey ship Kestrel, 71 days out past the asteroid belt. We were 4 crew, thin on sleep, thinner on nerves. I told myself it was an echo, a feedback loop, delayed playback of my own tired voice folding back on itself. They teach you the rule before they ever let you touch a transmitter. Space is silent. No air, no sound, no scream that carries. Out here, the only voices that cross the dark are radio, light dressed up as speech, thrown across the vacuum at the speed of light and not 1 meter faster. And that speed is a wall. At our distance, every message to Earth took the better part of an hour to arrive. You spoke, then you waited an hour for the reply. There was no conversation out here. Only send and wait and wait. Nothing could answer you in half a second. Nothing. So I logged it as interference and said nothing. Waking the captain over a voice crack felt like admitting the isolation was winning. I'd seen it happen to others, the way the quiet gets into people. I ran a diagnostic instead. The channel came back clean. Just the hiss underneath everything. Every open channel has that hiss. Cosmic background noise, older than the stars. The faint radio warmth left over from the birth of everything. Point a dish at empty sky, and it whispers back. We're trained to hear it as nothing. That night, for the first time, the nothing had a rhythm. It started echoing me first. My words thrown back a beat late, annoying, explainable. Then it stopped waiting. On the 4th watch, it said, the coolant line. A full sentence before I noticed the coolant line was dropping pressure. It wasn't repeating me anymore. It was ahead of me. That's when I finally called Captain Vale. She listened to the loop with her arms crossed, jaw tight, the way she got when she'd already decided you were tired. Feedback, she said. Pareidolia. Your brain's hunting for a voice because it's lonely. She wasn't wrong to say it. I wanted her to be right. So we tested it. Vale wrote a sentence on a slate, sealed in her palm, and told me to think it. Never say it. I stared at the words. My mouth stayed shut, and the speaker, soft as breath, finished them. The door was never locked. Vale's hand opened. The slate said exactly that. I watched the certainty leave her face. Not fear at first. Something worse, a kind of vertigo, the ground of physics tilting under her. It can't know that, she whispered. Nobody could read that in time. Nothing's fast enough. And there it was. The wall we'd both trusted, quietly stepped over. I did what any coward with training does. I looked for the mundane answer. A stowaway transmitter, a looping recording, another ship shadowing us. I ran the source trace, expecting a satellite, a relay, anything with a name. The bearing came back and I read it twice, then a third time. The signal had no source, no emitter, no vector, no Doppler shift as it should if anything were moving. It wasn't arriving from a point in space, it was in the noise itself, riding the background hiss, the way a thought rides the silence in your own skull. It was everywhere the static was. Vale ordered radio silence. Full blackout. No outgoing transmissions, receivers muted. If it was in our heads, silence would starve it. If it was real, we wouldn't feed it. For 11 hours we ran dark and quiet. 4 people breathing in a tin can, listening to nothing on purpose. It almost worked. In the dark, I remembered the old story, 1977, a telescope in Ohio, 72 seconds of a signal so loud and so clean, a scientist circled it and wrote one word beside it, wow. It never came again. Humanity has heard the universe clear its throat exactly once. Nobody ever learned what said it. At hour 11, with every transmitter cold and every mouth shut, the speaker crackled on by itself. And it spoke. Not my voice this time, not anyone's. Something built out of all our voices at once, layered, patient. It said, you stopped talking. That's all right. We were never listening to your words. Vale keyed the mic before I could stop her. Blackout broken. Then what? She said, low and furious. Were you listening to? No hour-long wait, no lag. The answer came back inside a single heartbeat, impossibly, across all that empty distance. The wall gone like it had never been there at all. The pauses, it said. The space between your sentences. That's where you live. Words are just the noise you make crossing from one silence to the next. We've been reading the silences since before your kind had mouths. Finishing your sentences was only a way to make you look up. Look up at what? I asked, and my voice didn't sound like mine anymore. For a long moment, there was only the hiss, that old warmth from the beginning of things. Then the whole channel seemed to lean closer, the way a face leans in when it's about to tell you something true. At the fact that the quiet was never empty, it said. You called it silence and felt brave. But every dish you ever pointed at the dark was pointing back. We let you believe you were alone, because alone is how your kind learns to shout. You've been shouting for a while now. Vale set down the mic. All the fight had drained out of her, replaced by something I'd never seen on her face, not terror, but recognition. Like meeting a fear you'd carried so long you'd stopped naming it. How long? She said softly. How long have you been finishing our sentences? The hiss almost sounded kind. Since the first one you ever spoke, it answered. A word by a fire? 10,000 of your years ago. You said half a thought and stopped, afraid of the dark past the light. We finished it for you. You've been finishing each other's sentences ever since and calling it your own idea. I've replayed the logs 100 times since. Some nights, I hear a sentient thing keyed into the void, answering across a gap light itself can't close in time. Other nights, I hear 4 exhausted people and a tired brain stitching a voice from static. Pareidolia, the oldest trick the mind knows. The recorders backed up neither version. Where the voice should be, the files hold only clean background hiss, the warm old whisper from the start of everything, and not one word inside it. Vale filed it as fatigue and interference. I signed the report. My hand shook doing it, and I let it. We made it back. The Kestrel sits in a dry dock now, and I don't fly anymore. But I still catch myself doing it, pausing mid-thought, leaving the last few words unsaid, listening to the gap, waiting to hear if anything leans in to finish them. Most nights, nothing does. Most. So here's the only thing I know now, and I'll leave it with you the way it was left with me. The universe isn't silent. It never was. It's just very, very good at waiting for the space between your words. Next time you pause, really pause, notice who finishes the sentence.